Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri-Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnu-padaya Krishna-prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskatyai Visatarani. Hare Krishna. Today we will discuss chapter 16 of the 8th canto, executing the Payo-vrata process of worship. So this is the prelude of the appearance of Lord Vamandev. How Lord Vamandev became the son of Aditi is explained in this chapter. So we will start with reading text 1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sishuka vacha evam putreshu nasteshu devamata ditistada rete tri vishtape daichyai paryatapyap anatavat. I will read the translation of the first verse. Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, when Aditi's sons, the demigods, had thus disappeared from heaven, and the demons had occupied their places, Aditi began lamenting, as she had no protector. So, Aditi, she lost what she thought to be the most important thing, that her sons were ruling the heavenly planets. So she began to lament. So who is Aditi's husband? Is Kashyapa Muni. So this is not the first story of Kashyapa Muni and his wives. Before, in the 3rd canto, we read about Diti serving her husband to get a child. She was pleasing him for her own purposes. It was a type of business dealing, duplicitous, because Diti wanted to have a child immediately, and the result was horrible. The result of that union was Hiranyakasipu and Hiranyaksha. Then in the same canto we have Kardama Muni and Devahuti. Devahuti tried to please her husband, and the result of that union was Kapila Muni, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So 2 opposite results, a demon and the Lord. The wives were trying to please their husbands, and they pleased their husbands, but the results were completely different because of their mentality, duplicity and simplicity of heart. And then a 3rd case at the end of the 6th canto. So Diti tried to please Kashyapa Muni again, but Diti was very, very angry. Why? Because her beloved Asuric children, the Daityas, 2 of them had been killed, and she did not blame Lord Vishnu, but she blamed Indra. She said, Vishnu appeared because of Indra. So she wanted to kill Indra. But Kashyapa Muni, having been fooled one time, after she pleased him, he had a different mood. And he realized that he needed to give her a benediction that is going to purify her. So, what he did was engaging her in the Lord's worship to such a degree that she gave up her enmity with Vishnu, and the Maruts were born. It is a wonderful pastime as Diti became completely purified by the process of devotional service. And Indra was serving her. And because she was performing devotional service, Indra was also purified. So as a result, the Maruts were born, and they were not demons. Although born from Diti, they were not demons. But they were made demigods, the Maruts. So that is the third instance. And now this is the fourth instance. Aditi was lamenting. So we will hear in the next verses, Kashyapa Muni, he comes back from his meditation. It's a mystic. He was in Samadhi for a long time. And then he came back to the ashram. It's not clear where Aditi and Kashyapi, where their ashram is. No idea. It's a bit mysterious. It's not in heaven because Bali is in heaven. So where is it? Well, we'll see. So, text 2. Can someone read text 2, translation please?
After many great powerful says, Kashyap Muni arose from a trance of meditation and returned home to see the ashram of Aditi, neither jubilant nor festive.
So if the husband is long away, then you may expect a nice reception, but that was not there, neither jubilant nor festive. Next verse, please.
O best of the Gurus, when Kashyap Muni had been properly received and welcomed, he took his seat and then spoke as follow to his wife Aditi, who was very modest.
Yeah, and text 4.
O most gentle one, I wonder whether anything inauspicious has not taken place in regard to religious principles, the Brahmanas or the people in general who are subject to the whims of death.
Can you also read a small purport?
Yes. And there are prescribed duties for all the inhabitants of this material world, especially for the Brahmanas, but also for the people in general, who are subject to the whims of death. Kashyap Muni wondered whether the regulative principles, which are meant for the well-being of everyone, had been disobeyed. He accordingly continued his inquiries for 7 verses.
So in the next verses, Kashyapa Muni will inquire about the inauspiciousness that seems to pervade his ashram. So Kashyapa Muni inquired whether Aditi, did she do something inauspicious while I was absorbed in my trance of mystic meditation. Text 5. Someone read.
O my wife, who are very much attached to household life. If the principles of religion, economic development, and satisfaction of the senses are properly followed in household life, one's activities are as good as those of a transcendentalist. I wonder whether there have been any discrepancies in following these principles.
Yes.
Okay.
That Yeah, we will not. We'll skip this purport, because otherwise it will be too long. But because there was moroseness and unhappiness, it seemed there must be a fault. So we will come back to this purport a little further. But we will read the whole story up to text 10, the words of Kashyapa Muni. Can someone read text 6, translation?
I wonder whether because of being too attached to the members of your family, you failed to properly receive uninvited guests, who therefore were not welcomed and went away.
So here we have another cause of inauspiciousness. Atiti Bhav. If an unexpected guest comes to the house and is not received well, then that is another cause of inauspiciousness. Text 7, can someone read?
Homes from which guests go away without having been received, even with an offering for little water, are like those holes in the field of which are the homes of jackals.
So, who lives in the field in holes that are homes of jackals? Of course, jackals, of course. So people who do not receive guests properly are compared to jackals here. 8. Please read.
O chaste and auspicious woman, when I left home for other places, were you in so much anxiety that you didn't offer oblation of ghee into the fire?
Text 9.
By worshipping the fire and the Brahmanas, a householder can achieve the desired goal of residing in the higher planets. For the sacrificial fire and the Brahmanas are to be considered the mouth of Lord Vishnu, who is the supersoul of all the demigods.
So, did you not perform the religious principles properly? Have you not treated guests properly? Did you not offer oblations in the sacrificial fire properly? No. Text 10. Yes.
Hare Krishna. O great-minded lady, are all your sons faring well? Seeing your withered face, I can perceive that your mind is not tranquil. How is this so?
So the face is the index of the mind, they say. I heard my Guru Maharaj personally saying, if I see someone's face, I know who is the index of the mind. Interesting, because this is for advanced Vaishnavas. They can perceive that. We go back to text 5, and I will read a part of the purport. That in this verse, Aditi has been addressed by her husband Kashyapa Muni as Griya Medini, which means one who is satisfied in household life for sense gratification. Generally, those who are in household life pursue sense gratification in the field of activities performed for material results. Such Griyamedis have only one aim in life, sense gratification. Therefore it is said, Yat Maitunadi Griyamedi Sukam Mitucham. The householder's life is based on sense gratification, and therefore the happiness derived from it is very meager. Nonetheless, the Vedic process is so comprehensive that even in householder life, one can adjust his activities according to regulative principles of Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. So dharma for materialists is meant to get artha, wealth, and wealth is meant to get calm, the fulfillment of desires, and moksha is generally not thought of liberation. So one's aim should be to achieve liberation, but because one cannot give up sense gratification, that in the Shastras there are injunctions prescribing how to follow the principles of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. So this is what materialistic people want to enjoy. Even dharma makes them feel good and pious. Wealth security, calm, power, enjoyment. So the Vedic culture allowed one to fulfill these desires in such a way that that one will step forwards to the absolute truth. So I continue reading. As explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, dharmasya I apavargasya narto ritayo pakalpati. All occupational engagement are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Those who are in household life should not think that religion is meant to improve the process of the householder's sense gratification. Household life is also meant for advancement in spiritual understanding, by which one can ultimately gain liberation from the material clutches. One should remain in household life with the aim of understanding the ultimate goal of life, tattva jnana. Then household life is as good as the life of a yogi, Kashyapa Muni. Therefore, Kashyapa Muni therefore inquired from his wife whether the principles of religion, economic development, and sense gratification were being properly followed in terms of the Shastric injunctions. As soon as one deviates from the injunctions of the Shastra, the purpose of household life is immediately lost in confusion. So as soon as one deviates from the injunctions of Shastra, the purpose of household life is immediately lost in confusion. What does that mean? If we follow the Shastra, even forgetting these materialistic aims, dharma, artha, and kam, then we will be elevated. But if we don't follow the Shastra, then one will be degraded, and then one is lost in confusion. Then we will read also the purport of text 6.
Maharaj, I have a question.
Yes.
In the Dharma Sahya Bhava will say that all occupation engagements are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. So, how do you explain this? All engagements are meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be used for material gain.
Yeah. And so the injunctions of the Shastra are all the purpose is to get us materially detached. That like when we have the karma kanda, the teachings of Sukracharya. If we follow karma kanda, we become satisfied by sense enjoyment, and we want more and more, and we want more and more sense enjoyment. But because it's pious, it brings us gradually to goodness. And when we come to goodness, we start to understand that sense gratification is not the purpose of life. And we start to question, what is there more than sense gratification? And then one comes to the jnana platform. But this is a very slow path, because we desire that. The Shastra said, okay, you can do your sense gratification, And gradually you come from the mode of passion gradually to goodness, and then if it's properly applied, all this religious principle that but many times it's a risky path. You go to the heavenly planets and you come back, but after going to this cycle a few times, the penny may fall and you come to that conclusion. We see here uh, Aditi attached to household life, attached to her sons. But we go to so many lifetimes. We have so many sons and daughters, millions of them probably, in all our previous lifetimes. Are we still attached to them? That I don't know, a family, 35 years ago, my family rejected me because I was a Hindu, and that's still the status today. Many of them are all dead. I've never seen them again. So I have no sense what family is. Family means for me troublemakers. So it brings you out of illusion that it's all temporary, it comes and it goes. But Aditi is very much attached, and she thinks, I feel unhappy because my sons are unhappy. Because there's a so-called relationships, temporary relationships with her sons and daughters. And that's the illusion of family life. And so to come out of it, you must become purified. And that is what Kashyapa Muni is going to help her to become purified. And he will engage her in devotional service. And that brings her in contact with Krishna, Vishnu. And that's the purifying factor. Only Krishna can remove our ignorance from within the heart. And by the mercy of the spiritual master, Krishna removes our ignorance. If mercy of the spiritual master means we follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And we see Kashyapa Muni will give her a process for purification which she got from Brahma through the disciplic succession. And he repeated the same process, and you do that process and you will become purified. And she will become purified. That's the ultimate remedy, engagement in devotional service. But the Vedas, they have this indirect path, the pravritti marg. And people who don't want to, who are not religious, who do not want to engage in direct worship of God, they can follow these rules and regulations of Dharma, Artha, Kama. And that brings them to goodness. Following this regulation is part of Varnashram Dharma. By following this Varnashram Dharma, one comes to goodness and purified. So that is the point. Is that okay?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, the way I was thinking is, it's all occupational engagement are certainly meant for ultimate liberations. The way I was actually thinking that how come everybody is like everybody in the world, whatever they do, this is their occupation. So how can their occupation maybe is meant for liberation?
Yeah, their occupation should be done out of duty for Vishnu. That's a Varnashram. That if they do it for sense gratification, it will not purify them. But by following the orders in the Varnashram Dharma, even if they don't believe in Krishna or God, they follow the orders, they are following the orders of the Supreme Lord. And by following that, they come to goodness. And when they come to goodness, then there is a chance that they ask questions. That it's just to bring them to that point. That it's not that it brings that this process of karma kanda brings them directly to liberation, but puts them on the path of liberation. It's just a stage out of the many stages they have to go to attain liberation. First,
Basically, for example, there is a carpenter. This is what his occupational duty is, and he does not know anything about spiritual life. Nothing.
yeah, but
So it cannot be basically you have to learn, like Aditi is learning about devotional service. So somebody they have to learn to elevate that occupation into higher levels.
yeah,
Use that for devotional service or use this for karma kanda or whatever that is.
thus Krishna explains that in Bhagavad Gita. Karmani vatakaraste ma kadeshana kachana. Karmani vatakaraste. You must do your duty. Act out of duty, not for sense gratification, just out of duty. Out of duty means one is not attached to the results. That's varnashram. But karma kanda is not yet really within the realm of that practice. This is already higher. Because not everyone can act out of duty. So Krishna is not yet involved. That varnashram means all cooperates and acts out of duty. And by that cooperation, haritoshanam, Krishna is pleased indirectly. And that will bring one to the point of purification. But when one follows the karma kanda and wants more and more higher sense gratification, that's another path. That's pravritti marg. But the idea is that they become, by their pious activities, become elevated to goodness. When they are elevated to goodness, then they will be able to act out of duty, because that's the mode of goodness. And then you can act properly in varnashram. So it's connected, but this karma kanda is really a lower stage. Good.
Thank you, Mother.
So that's text 6 here. So we were text 6, yeah. So it is here said, it is the duty of a householder to receive guests, even if a guest is an enemy. That's, in other words, there are no excuses. You must receive a guest properly. So when a guest comes to one's home, one should properly receive him by standing up, offering him a seat, offering him a seat, that it is enjoyed. Shreyasatramapi praptam vishvatam akutobayam. Even if an enemy comes to one's home, one should receive him in such a way that the guest will forget that he is an enemy. So this is culture. This is culture. Then said, according to one's position, one should properly receive anyone who comes to one's home. At least a seat and a glass of water should be offered, so that the guest will not be displeased. Kashyapa Muni inquired from Aditi whether respect has been shown to such guests or atitis. The word atiti refers to one who comes without an invitation. So the point being here is that the neglect of an uninvited guest would be the cause of the moroseness, the depression of Aditi. So then in the next purport, in the field there may be holes made by snake and mice, but they are very big holes. There are very big holes. It may be supposed that jackals live there. Certainly, no one goes to take shelter in such homes. Thus the home of human beings where Atithis, uninvited guests, are not properly received are like the homes of jackals. So now Aditi will reply to her moroseness. And that's in text 11. Here's text 11. Can someone read the translation and the purport, please?
Naturally, Raj. Aditi said, O respected Brahmana husband, all is well with the Brahmanas, the cows, religion, and the welfare of other people, O master of the house. The three principles of Dharma, Artha, Kama flourish in household life, which is consequently full of good fortune. Purport. In household life, one can develop the three principles of religion, economic development, and sense gratification according to the regulations given in Shastras. But to attain liberation, one must give up household life and place himself in the transcendental renounced order. Kashyap Muni was not in the renounced order of life. Therefore, he is addressed here as Brahmana and another time as Grihamedin. Aditi, his wife, assured him that as far as household life was concerned, everything was going nicely, and the Brahmanas and the cows were being honored and protected. In other words, there were no disturbances. Household life was duly progressing.
Yeah, then 12. Someone can read text 12.
O beloved husband, the fires, guests, servants, and beggars are all being properly cared for by me. Because I always think of you, there is no possibility that any of the religious principles will be neglected.
So it's clear here that Aditi was acting to please her husband. That was in the center of her consciousness. Can someone read text 13 and 14?
Oh my Lord, since you are a Prajapati and are personally my instructor in the principles of religion, where is the possibility that all my desires will not be fulfilled?
And 14.
O son of Marichi, because you are a great personality, you are equal toward all the demons and demigods, who are born either from your body or from your mind, and who possess one or another of the three qualities, Sattva-guna, Rajaguna, and or Tamoguna. But although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller, is equal toward all living entities, he is especially favorable to the devotees.
So Kashyapa Muni was the father of both the demigods and the demons. Diti was the mother of the Daityas and Aditi was the mother of the Suras, the demigods. So she says to her husband that you are equal to everyone. So this is brought up many times in Shastra as a mark of a great person. Is equal to everyone. To show favoritism, I like this and I don't like this one, this is considered very low class. Prahlad Maharaj criticized his teacher Sanna in Amarka, we will see, we have seen in the 7th canto. He criticized Sanna and Amarka for thinking in terms of friends and enemies. In the beginning of the seventh canto, that question has been asked: how is it possible that the Lord shows favoritism? Favoritism over one against the other is considered childish, not a mark of a great person. What to speak of the Lord? So here she is saying that regardless of the modes of material nature that someone is in, because you are so great, pure and self-realized, therefore you can't show favoritism to anyone. As the Lord is equal, Samam Sarva Bhuteshu, Bhagavad Gita 9:29, you are equal. So this is her point, be equal to everyone, because Krishna is equal to everyone. But ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya, maite te sapyaham. The Lord is equal to everyone, Sama Sarvabhuteshu. But still, in the midst of that, he shows favoritism to his devotees. Srila Prabhupada says in the purpose of that verse in Bhagavad Gita, that is natural. Although a wealthy man who is favorable to all people working in his factory is still more inclined to his son, it is natural. So Aditi expressed her desires. Kashyapa Muni, who is the father of the demons, also shows some favoritism, especially inclined to the devotees, meaning the demigods were her sons. So I will read the purport now. Yeah. In Bhagavad Gita 9:29, the Lord says, Samam sarvabhuteshu namitvesh tinapriya yebachantatamam bhaktya maitete sapyam. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is equal to everyone, he is especially inclined to those who engage in his devotional service. The Lord says, Kantya padishanya nami bhaktya panashati. Bhagavad Gita 9:31. My dear son of Kunti, please declare that my devotee will never be vanquished. Elsewhere also Krishna says, Yeya tamam pabachde tamstadeva bhajamyam. Mama vartmana vartnate manushya partha sarvasa. Actually, everyone is trying to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead in various ways, but according to their methods. So everyone is trying to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead in various ways, but according to their methods of approach, the Supreme Lord endows them with different benedictions. Thus Aditi appealed to her husband by saying that since even the Supreme Controller favors his devotees, and since Indra, Kashyapa's devoted son, was in difficulty, Kashyapa should bestow his favor upon Indra. So all these verses are making the same point, that Krishna is especially inclined toward his devotees. And this verse is quoted, Yeya tamam pabachyante tamsate vajamam. So this verse shows more equality for 11 Bhagavad Gita. So that is Krishna's equality. The devotees approach as Krishna's everything. And Krishna reciprocates, and then he gives everything. He sees devotees as everything. And the devotees approach Krishna like he's nothing. And he equally reciprocates and gives them nothing. So that is perfectly fair. How is Kashyapa Muni going to deal with this? He's equal to everyone, and he had already so many experiences being tricked by his wives. How is he going to deal with it? Can someone read text 15, 16 and 17? Yeah.
Therefore, most gentle Lord, kindly favor your maidservant. We have now been deprived of our opulence and residence by our competitors, the demons. kindly give us protection.
Then 16.
The demons, our formidably powerful enemies, have taken away our opulence, our beauty, our fame, and even our residence. Indeed, we have now been exiled and we are drowning in an ocean of trouble.
Text 17 also.
O best of sages, best of all those who grant auspicious benedictions, please consider our situation and bestow upon my sons the benediction by which they can regain what they have lost.
So, thank you. By the potency of Sukacharya's benediction, Bali Maharaj gained the power to have heaven. And Aditi, she taught by the potency of your benedictions, the benedictions of Kashyapa Muni, my sons will get it back. That someone read text 18.
Maharaj, I have a question here.
Yeah.
Aditi is saying that demons are formidable, powerful enemies. But these demons are also sons of Kashyapa. How is she saying they're enemies?
Well, of course, yeah, you have Aditi and her sister is Diti. Diti, her sons were demons.
Yes.
That shows some tension there. that she's saying the sons from Aditi are powerful enemies. Yeah, that's is that understanding that demigods are in the mode of goodness and the mode of passion and ignorance is our enemy. So that's not a wrong consideration. For us also, we have to become purified from passion and ignorance. These are all demons in our heart. And that's our most powerful enemy. And this enemy is in our mind and our senses and intelligence. Yes.
Good.
Text 18 here. Can someone read translation, please?
Sukadeva Goswami continued, when Kashyapa Muni was thus requested by Aditi, his life is smiled. Alas, he said, how powerful is the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu, by which the entire world is bound by affection for children.
Yeah, we have here Kashyapa Muni. He just come back from being situated in yogic trance. Basically, it means he was meditating on the oneness of everything. And then he comes home, he's confronted with the mentality of my sons and the sons of others. That's the potency of Maya. Interesting question. How powerful is the illusory energy of Lord Vishnu? Maya rules this world and is bewildering everyone. Bewildering everyone continuously through affection, through enemies' desire, through hatred. Bhagavad Gita 7.27. Ichadvesa samutena dvantamaina bharata sarvabhutani samam sarjeyante parantapa. A sign of Bharata, conqueror of the four. All living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by the dualities from desire and hate. That's Bhagavad Gita. So we are born into illusion. And we think this is good, this is bad, I want this, I hate that. We stay in the material world more or less forever as long as we are absorbed in attraction, aversion, raga, dvesha. Then we stay on the material level. And at some point, if the soul wants to get out, we need to say, I've enough. I'm not going to fall for it anymore. I don't want that Icha and Vesha anymore. And what does he do next when it comes to that very deep realization? Then we need to cry out very loudly to Krishna, help me. Bhagavad Gita 9:14. Mamevaye prapachante mayane tam tarantite. So this is Devayasya guna maya mama maya drachya. Mami vaye prapachante mayam evam taramtite. This divine energy of me consisting of the three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So Maya is just too powerful for us to overcome. We cannot fight with Maya. Maya is stronger than us. But by this devotional service, we come out of the influence of Maya. That's what happens. So the only one is Krishna who can unlock this door, because we have these shackles, this attachment and aversion which keep us here. Maya is too powerful. We have such a bad habit of interaction with Maya, and this for countless years. We have so much karma. It is impossible for us to escape, so only when we are tired of it we can say, oh, I had enough, so Krishna, please help me. I'm weak. We have to pray continuously to Krishna. That is the cost. It is a full and continuous dependence on Krishna. One continually only depends on another when one really needs it. And what is the difference between that mood in a devotee and the mood of someone desiring liberation? It is a matter of desire, of what one actually wants. If one desires predominantly to get out of the material world, even if we are devotees, then we are not devotees. We are salvationists. If we only want to get out of here, salvationists. If we want predominantly to get rid of suffering, that is actually not bhakti. A devotee may want to get out of the material world, but his driving force is not the wanting to get out. His driving force is to serve. And why is his driving force to serve? What impels Aditi to serve her husband? So Aditi says that she is thinking of his pleasure. Bhakti means bhakta means one who loves Krishna. Of course, that is advanced, but that is what it means. Aditi seems to be unhappy because her sons are being thrown out of heaven. Diti pleased Kashyapa Muni to find a way to kill Indra. Kashyapa Muni gave her a way to purify her from this kind of passion, ignorant desires. But of course, this all fits into Krishna's lila, what we see here. Maya in Chaitanya Charitamrita is compared to andhakar or darkness, and Krishna is compared to light. Krishna Surya Sa Maya Haya Andhakar. Yan Krishna Ta Nai Mayara Adhikar. So Krishna is compared to sunshine and Maya is compared to darkness. Whenever there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. As soon one takes to Krishna consciousness, the darkness of illusion will immediately vanish. So to keep always in the light of Krishna rather than trying to remove the darkness of illusion directly. So we have a different method, and that is to always keep in Krishna's sun. How? By being Krishna conscious, by serving and remembering him, trying to please him. Srila Prabhupada in New Vrindavan said, Krishna consciousness is not difficult. The only thing we have to do is arrange our life in such a way that we cannot forget Krishna. That's all. You can have material affection. You can also have material affection too if you have sons. But how does Queen Kunti prays? Let the affection for my kinsman be removed, she prays. It does not mean the spiritual part of our affection, that's alright. But she experienced there is a mixture of spiritual and material affection. She is a mother and also they are devotees. So she does not want the motherly part. Her consciousness was not only appreciating that they are souls and they are devoted souls, and therefore my affection for them is on the spiritual platform. So Aditi thought, my sons have been thrown out improperly, and I don't like it. That was her position. Now, can someone read the translation of text 19?
Kashyap Muni continued, what is this material body made of five elements? It is different from the spirit soul. Indeed, the spirit soul is completely different from the material elements from which the body is made. But because of bodily attachment, one is regarded as a husband or son. These illusory relationships are caused by misunderstanding.
So, what is a misunderstanding? My son is produced for my body and therefore is my son. Actually, I'm a soul and he's a soul. Prabhupada's purport, the spirit soul, Atma or Jiva is certainly different from the body, which is a combination of five material elements. This is a simple fact, but it is not understood unless one is spiritually educated. Kashyapa Muni met his wife Aditi in the heavenly planets. But the same conception extends to the entire universe and is also here on Earth. That there are different grades of living entities, but all of them are more or less under the impression of bodily conception of life. In other words, all living entities in this material world are all more or less devoid of spiritual education. The Vedic civilization however, is based on spiritual education, and spiritual education is the special basis on which Bhagavad Gita was spoken to Arjuna. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna instructed Arjuna to understand that the spirit soul is different from the body. So, what is the risk? That again becoming a mouse or a monkey? That the monkey, the mice, and the bird suffer. Just imagine to have fleas and no hands to scratch. The dogs, they are suffering so much. Flies are always bothering you, and you have no hands to push them away. Push them away with the tail, but the flies are smart enough to know how far the tail goes. Yes, we will have a pause now. It's 6:30, and we will resume at 6:40 in 10 minutes. And then we will discuss text 20. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Recording stopped.
Hare Krishna. We can continue. I noted
Recording in progress.
that I did not read the entire purport, and the last comment was meant on the last part of the purport. So if someone can read the purport starting here with Deinosmin Shata Dehe.
Dihnosvinyata dehe kamaram yovanojara tata dihantara prapti dirastatra namuhyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Bhagavad Gita 2:13. Unfortunately, this spiritual education is completely absent from modern human civilization. No one understands his real self-interest, which lies with the spirit soul, not with the material body. Education means spiritual education. To work hard in the bodily conception of life without spiritual education is to live like an animal. Nayam deho deha bhajan, nriloke kashtan kamam arhate vid bhujam ye. Bhagavatam 551. People are working so hard simply for bodily comforts, without education regarding the spirit soul. Thus they are living in a very risky civilization, for it is a fact that the spirit soul has to transmigrate from one body to another, tata dihantara prapti. Without spiritual education, people are kept in dark ignorance and do not know what will happen to them after the annihilation of the present body. They are working blindly, and blind leaders are directing them. Andaya tandar upaniyamannas dipisha tantyam urudam nibada. Bhagavatam 7:531. A foolish person does not know that he is completely under the bondage of material nature, and that after death, material nature will impose upon him a certain type of body which he will have to accept. He does not know that although in his present body he may be a very important man, he may next get the body of an animal or tree because of his ignorant activities in the modes of material nature. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is trying to give the true light of spiritual existence to all living entities. This movement is not very difficult to understand, and people must take advantage of it, for it will save them from the risky life of irresponsibility.
Thank you. So then, what is the risk? That, like I said before, we can become an animal, a mouse or a monkey. But yes, the next verse, next 20, that here Kashyapa Muni will instruct Aditi to engage in devotional service as a solution, and he will present a process that so he will give here the answer to the problem. Can someone read the translation of text 20?
My dear Aditi, engage in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the master of everything, who can subdue everyone's enemies, and who sits within everyone's heart. Only that Supreme Person, Krishna or Vasudev, can bestow all auspicious benedictions upon everywhere, for he is the spiritual master of the universe.
Yes. So we have this verse in the second canto, 2:310, Akama Savakama Uva Moksha Kama Udarati Tivrena Bhakti-yogina Charita Purushamparam. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desires or without material desire or the desire liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. So it says, the Supreme Lord is the master of everything. Is in your heart, so serve him. So with these words, Kashyapa Muni tried to pacify his wife. Aditi made her appeal to her material husband. Of course, that's nice, but actually, a material relative cannot do anything good for anyone. So, good on the material platform, it comes and goes. So if anything good can be done, it is done by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva. Therefore Kashyapa Muni advised his wife Aditi, so begin worshipping Lord Vasudeva, who is situated in everyone's heart. He is a friend of everyone. He is known as Janardhan, because he can kill all enemies. There are three modes of material nature: goodness, passion and ignorance, and above material nature, transcendental to material nature, is another existence which is called Sudasattva. In the material world, the mode of goodness is considered the best, but because of material contamination, even the modes of goodness is sometimes overpowered by the modes of passion and ignorance. But when one transcends the competition between these modes and engages himself in devotional service, he rises above the three modes of material nature. In that transcendental position, one is situated in pure consciousness. Sattvam Visudam Vasudeva Saptidam. Above the material position is the position called Vasudeva, or freedom from material contamination. So, only in that position can one perceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva. Thus the Vasudeva condition fulfills a spiritual necessity. Vasudeva Savamiti Samatma Sudurlabha. When one realizes Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes most exalted. So then we have can someone read the next paragraphs till the end? Paramatma Vasudeva is situated in everyone's heart.
Paramatma Vasudeva is situated in everyone's heart, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The Lord says, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhashtam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yen Mam Upayanti Te. To those who are constantly devoted and who worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hridesha Arjuna Tishtati. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjun. Bhagavad Gita 18:61. Bhoktaram Yagatapsam Sarvalok Maheshwaram Surdam Sarvabhutanam Gyatpa Mam Shantim Richati. The sages, knowing me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Bhagavad Gita 5.29. Whenever one is perplexed, let him take shelter of the lotus feet of Vasudeva Krishna, who will give the devotee intelligence to help him surpass all difficulties and return home back to Godhead. Kashyapa Muni advised his wife to seek shelter at the lotus feet of Vasudeva Krishna, so that all her problems would be very easily solved. Thus Kashyapa Muni was an ideal spiritual master. He was not so foolish that he would present himself as an exalted personality as good as God. He was actually a bona fide guru because he advised his wife to seek shelter at the lotus feet of Vasudeva. One who trains his subordinate or disciple to worship Vasudeva is truly bona fide spiritual master. The word Jagat Guru is very important in this regard. Kashyapani did not falsely declare himself to be Jagat Guru, although he actually was Jagat Guru because he advocated the cause of Vasudeva. Actually, Vasudeva is Jagat Guru, as clearly stated here. Vasudevam Jagat Gurum. One who teaches the instructions of Vasudeva, Bhagavad Gita, is as good as Vasudevam Jagat Gurum. But when one who does not teach this instruction, as it is, declares himself Jagat Guru, he simply cheats the public. Krishna is Jagat Guru, and one who teaches the instructions of Krishna as it is on behalf of Krishna may be accepted as Jagat Guru. One who manufactures his own theories cannot be accepted. He becomes Jagat Guru falsely.
So we have here Kashyapa Muni gives the solution to the problem, but that solution has been given to him by Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma got it from Krishna within the heart. So he's just repeating Krishna's instructions. That makes him a bona fide guru. Now 21.
But it's interesting that even the mother of the demigods had to be reminded about devotional service. Something here we have, received it by Prabhupada mercy, and we just don't consider we have this value of like here. Aditi is reminded that you should engage in Krishna service. She is mother of all devatas, wife of Prajapati.
Yeah. Yeah, you can be in the mode of goodness and be a Brahman and not be a devotee. And that you practice all the rituals, but you don't connect it with Vishnu. That this was the case with the ritualistic Brahmins, and their wives were more elevated. They were devotees of Krishna. They forgot the purpose of what they were doing. And so it's a difference between self-centered or Krishna-centered. And that Adita was thinking of her sons. And she was thinking of pleasing her husband. That was her good fortune. Because by pleasing her husband, who is her spiritual master, she pleased the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, Kashyapa Muni reminded her of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and devotional service. Therefore, he is in the Sanskrit, I think, you have Dina Anukampana. Dina under the poor, Anukampana, very merciful. He's merciful to those who are poor and feel fallen. Krishna is merciful. So Amoga means also sinless. So both the wives of Kashyapa Muni it gave different processes, but they were not different processes. They were the same process. Bhakti Yoga, or worship of the Supreme Lord. Just at the end of the 6th canto, we heard this, and now at the end of canto. Now here in canto 8, we are not yet at the end in the middle. So we will read here the second part of the purport. Let's see. Yeah. Can someone read this last purport? Kashyapa Muni saw his wife.
Kashyapa Muni saw that his wife Aditi had some material desires for the welfare of her sons. But still, he advised her to render devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, everyone, regardless of whether he is a karmi, jnani, yogi, or bhakta, should invariably take shelter of the lotus feet of Vasudeva and render transcendental loving service unto him, so that all his desires will be duly fulfilled. Krishna is Dina Anukampana. He is very merciful to everyone. Therefore, if one wants to fulfill his material desires, Krishna helps him. Of course, sometimes if a devotee is very sincere, the Lord, as a special favor to him, refuses to fulfill his material desires and directly blesses him with pure unalloyed devotional service. It is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yeah, can read, please.
Krishna says, if one engages in my devotional loving service, in transcendental loving service, but at the same time wants the opulence of material enjoyment, he is very, very foolish. Indeed, he is just like a person who gives up ambrosia to drink poison. Since I am very intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. If a devotee maintains some material desires and at the same time very sincerely desires to engage at the lotus feet of Krishna, Krishna may directly give him unalloyed devotional service and takes away all his material desires and possessions. This is the Lord's special favor to devotees. Otherwise, if one takes to Krishna's devotional service but still has material desires to fulfill, he may become free from all material desires, as Dhruva Maharaj did. But this may take some time. However, if a very sincere devotee wants only Krishna's lotus feet, Krishna directly gives him the position of Shuddha Bhakti, unalloyed devotional service.
Thank you. So Dhruva wanted to get a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather Brahman. But he did not want it anymore after being purified. But still, Dhruva had to be the king of the universe for 32,000 years. So that's his going back to God, that was delayed. But the Avanti Brahman in the 11th canto was taking everything away and he became purified at once. So do we want to, that's a question to all of us, do we want Krishna to fulfill our material desires and then go back to Godhead? Is that how we want Krishna to treat us? Or do we want to take a shortcut? That is the point Srila Prabhupada is making. We can go back in the first way, but it takes longer. We may have still so many desires, but not cultivate them. That I want this, I want that. Otherwise, Krishna will fulfill them. So that is up to us. So even if the desires are there, one can be detached from them in a subtle sense. It is not easy when one has desires just to cut them off, cut them off by our intelligence, and then do as they are not there anymore. As Prabhupada explains in the 4th canto, in one of his purports, the best treatment of the mad mind which is the sitting place of all desires, is neglect, he says. The desires are there, but I'm not going to cultivate them. Not encouraging to grow and give them attention. What is the opposite of being poor? Dina anukampanam. Is thinking oneself of possessing so much and that is basically the definition of pride. So being poor, Dina hina datta chilo harinam. Thinking of household life is basically meditating on the enjoyments available in household life. Thinking it to that's the purpose of my existence. This means that one's conclusions are not exalted. Kapila Muni in the third canto explains that to worship the deity without respecting all living entities, such a person is a materialistic devotee, or almost a devotee, a prakriti bhakta, not at all recommended. In Shastra there is so much emphasis on this point, to respect all living entities, not only the members of my tribe, not only humans, but all living entities are worthy of giving respect. Krishna is in everyone's heart. Now, after Kashyapa Muni has given a simple description, then Lord Vasudeva, who is in everyone's heart, has to be pleased. That's the point. Can someone read text 32?
Srimati Aditi said, O Brahmana, tell me the regulative principles by which I may worship the Supreme Master of the world, so that the Lord will be pleased with me and fulfill all my desires.
So one thing we notice here is, who is the center? What is the purpose of worship? It is simply to please the Lord. When we speak about just pleasing the Lord, Anya Bilasta Sunyam Jnanakarmadanavitam Anukulena Krishnanu Silnam Bhaktir Uttama. When first class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires. Knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy and fruitive action, the devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. So that is pleasing Krishna. Then we are in the realm of bhakti, pure devotional service. But here, Aditi is asking for the methodology of pleasing the Lord. So regulative principles, he says, so that I can worship the Supreme Master, so that he be pleased with me. And the purpose is, Diti says, that he will fulfill my desires. So this is sakam. There is a motive in that. But as we learn from sarva, kama, akama, va, it all turns out for the best. So important is that if one is actually worshiping the Lord, whether one has motives or not. So can someone read the purport of 22?
It is said, man proposes, God disposes. Thus a person may desire many things, but unless these desires are fulfilled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they cannot be fulfilled. Fulfillment of desire is called Satya Sankalpa. Here the word Satya Sankalpa is very important. Aditi placed herself at the mercy of her husband so that he would give her directions by which to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that all her desires would be fulfilled. A disciple must first decide that he should worship the Supreme Lord, and then the spiritual master will give the disciple correct directions. One cannot dictate to the spiritual master, just as a patient cannot demand that his physician prescribe a certain type of medicine. Here is the beginning of worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:16. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritinurjuna arto jignasurathati jnani cha bharatarshabha. O best among the Bharatas, four kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Aditi was Arta, a person in distress. She was very much aggrieved because of her sons, the demigods, who were bereft of everything.
Thus, she wanted to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead under the direction of her husband, Kashyapa Muni.
So, Srila Prabhupada said, here is the beginning of worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Before being able to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in an unmotivated way, one has first to pass through the gate of worshipping Him in a motivated way, trying to get something in return. And then by the process of devotional service, by the practices, the methodology, then one is purified. 23. Can someone read 23, please?
O best of the Brahmanas, kindly instruct me in the perfect method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service, by which the Lord may very soon be pleased with me and save me, along with my sons, from this most dangerous condition.
Yes, sometimes less intelligent men asked whether one has to approach a guru to be instructed in devotional service for spiritual advancement. So the answer is given here. Indeed, not only here, but also in Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna, Krishna, accepted Krishna as his guru. Sisyastyam sadimam tvam papanam. Bhagavad Gita 2.7. The Vedas also instruct tat vijnanartam sagurum eva bigachet. Mukunda Upanishad 1-12. One must accept a guru for proper direction if one is seriously inclined in spiritual life. That the Lord says one must worship the Acharya, who is representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Acharya ma vijaniyat. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:17-27. So the spiritual master must be worshipped because it is Krishna's mercy coming to him. It's a method that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentioned in his commentary. It is a method of worshipping the Supreme Lord. He is it who is actually being worshipped. This is one way of looking at the worship of the Guru. Now further, the purport, one should definitely understand this. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that the Guru is the manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, according to the evidence given by the Shastra and by the practical behavior of devotees, one must accept the Guru. Aditi accepted her husband as her guru so that he would direct her to advance in spiritual consciousness, devotional service by worshipping the Supreme Lord. So now, Kashyapa Muni, he begins his reply. She asked about the methodology. And why is she asking that question? Because he had already instructed her. You should take shelter of the Supreme Lord and try to please Him. So the question is natural. How should I do that? So, text 24. Someone can read the translation. Answer of Kashyapa Muni, text 24.
Kashyapa Muni said, when I desire offspring, I place inquiries before Lord Brahma, who is born from a lotus flower. Now I shall explain to you the same process Lord Brahma instructed me, by which Keshava, the Supreme Personality Godhead, is satisfied.
Yes. So this is an important verse and purport. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that a next step is given here. So here the process of devotional service is further explained. Kashyapa Muni wanted to instruct Aditi in the same process recommended to him by Brahma for satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is valuable. So the methodology of instruction by the Guru is given. That is not manufacturing a new process to instruct a disciple. So this is called the disciplic succession. It gives the same message that Krishna has given. So that then the disciple receives from the Guru an authorized process received by the Guru from his Guru. That this is called the disciplic succession. Evam paramparapatam imam rachasyo vidu. Bhagavad Gita 4.2. This is the bona fide Vedic system of receiving the process of devotional service by which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased. Therefore, to approach a bona fide Guru or spiritual master is essential. So this is the bona fide Vedic system of receiving the process of devotional service by which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased. So here the prayojan or the goal is set. Even though it is in a simple and a basic way. The first question is that it is necessary to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The second question is how to please him. The Guru Kashyapa Muni is explaining the process, not manufacturing something, is instructing as he himself has been instructed. So this is called the system of disciplic succession. Evam parampara praptam imam rajaseo vidu. Bhagavad Gita 4.2. This is bona fide. A bona fide Vedic system of receiving the process of devotional service by which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased. Therefore, to approach a bona fide Guru or spiritual master is essential. The bona fide spiritual master is he who has received the mercy of his Guru, who in turn is bona fide because he has received the mercy of his Guru. This is called the parampara system. Unless one follows this parampara system, the mantra one receives will be chanted for no purpose. Nowadays there are so many rascal gurus who manufacture their mantras as a process for material advancement, not spiritual advancement. Still, the mantra cannot be successful if it is manufactured. Mantras in the process of devotion service have special power, provided they are received from authorized persons. So it's not coming from one's own brain or consciousness. Then it is limited. The capacity of one's own consciousness. But if the process is coming through the disciplic succession, then the results are unlimited. What is the duplicity of a rascal guru? The purpose of finding a guru is to find the absolute truth. And one cannot do this if the process is coming through one's own fertile brain. It is limited. If I'm limited, then the results of my limited thinking must be in the realm of the material world. I cannot go beyond the material world with something of the material world. So there has to be a descent from the spiritual world to the material world. And then, if material things are used spiritually in a bona fide way, then when it's used in a proper way, these material things will be spiritualized. But when they are not connected to anything spiritual, then the result will be again in the material world. Therefore, Golokera Prema Dhanam Harinam Sankirtan. The sound vibration comes from the spiritual realm. The process is coming from the spiritual realm. The methodology comes from the spiritual realm, and therefore it can bring us out of the material realm and beyond it. Taking this as a basic philosophical fundamental point, why does Srila Prabhupada use the word rascal? What is rascalness in the concocting? What is the cheating in it? The purpose of the system is to give something not of the material world. It is to bring someone out of the material world. Then that is the natural inheritance. That is the purpose of the Shastra. Vedasa sarvayami vavedya. Either the quote of rascal go, who are manufacturing mantras, are trying to deliver material goods using a spiritual process. And by doing that, they are rascals. If they are trying to gain something for themselves and deliver something material, or they are promising something spiritual but don't have the capacity to deliver something spiritual. So in either case, they are rascals. And we should know better. There is an element of this duplicity here, conscious duplicity. That is not innocent or just ignorance, otherwise the word rascal would be inappropriate. And it is that what Prabhupada means. There's a cheating in there. And that, therefore Prabhupada says here, at the end, still the mantra cannot be successful if it is manufactured. So Bhojan Prabhu commented, Srila Prabhupada is referring to a specific guru who is selling mantras for a long time to get something material and promising something material. And Srila Prabhupada did not appreciate that because it was hypocrisy. And he was taking advantage of the spiritual ignorance of the people he was marketing to. So, the last line. Mantras and the pose of devotional service have special power provided they are received from authorized person. Now Kashyapa Muni is going to explain the process that he had heard to the disciplic succession from Lord Brahma. And by this process, not by a material process, but coming from the spiritual world, endowed with spiritual energy, the Supreme Lord is pleased. And that is what bhakti is. It is pleasing the Lord with his own internal energy. One must come in contact with that internal energy to please the Lord, and therefore Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram pushpam phalam tuyam yomam bhakti pranashati, that the bhakti is the part that is pleasing to Krishna. The devotion, which is Krishna's eternal energy, and that is what the Guru is carrying. So the eternal energy, the spiritual energy of bhakti. There is Krishna's internal energy. And when one has that, then any offering is pleasing to Krishna. Even it is patram pushpam phalam tuyam yome bhaktiya pranashati, just as a leaf, flower and water. And if one doesn't has that, as Prabhupada explained in the purport, when there is no devotion, no purity and sincerity in the offering, then no matter what one is offering, it's not going to be pleasing. Duryodhana, who brought Krishna to his capital, tried to bring Krishna to his side against the Pandavas, and to please Krishna, he cooked hundreds of preparations to present them to Krishna to please him. Because if one feeds you well, you not really feel affection for that person. You not really feel obliged to that person. But he wanted something. It wasn't to please Krishna, but to get Krishna obliged to him, so that Krishna would take his side on the battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna would not touch that food, and even it was a king's food, very opulent, but instead he went to the house of Vidura. Vidura wasn't there, but his wife was there, who was a great devotee, and she was thrilled that Krishna was there. And Krishna said, "I haven't eaten, please give me something to eat immediately." It is a pastime, of course. But she said, "Oh my Lord, we didn't cook anything." But Krishna said, "Whatever you have, I'll take." She said, "We have some bananas." "Okay, give me those." In her excitement, what did she do? She threw away the bananas and handed Krishna the peels. And what did Krishna do? He ate the peels. There is a similar story in the Ramayana, where a lady took the bale fruits, sabari. She wanted to make sure that the bale fruits were sweet enough. She would bite them first and then hand it over to Krishna. So one is not supposed to do that, but there was simple devotion into that, and Lord Ram was accepting it. It is the devotion that is the essence. We are following the rules and regulations because it is pleasing to Krishna. This is an element of devotion, even if it is not yet spontaneous. We do it that way, taught to us, and this is the way Krishna wants us. Let me do it in that way. It may not be that I like, and maybe this, maybe that, but that attempt to please and get ourselves out of the center and to please Krishna, that is the essence. This is the essence, and that essence is bhakti. Put Krishna in the center, and the opposite is what for the material world is made, that is selfishness, that is pleasing to us. What to speak of others, it is just simply business. When you go to a shop and you want something, then they give you what you want. But you always know that they are more getting that they are getting more than what they are than they give. So it is not pleasing to the heart. There is an exchange in a shop, because there is no devotion, there is no love. That's the essence of spiritual life. There is a specific order that the purpose are going in. First you accept the goal, and what is his qualification? It is just that he will give you a methodology that he has gotten, and that comes from the spiritual source, and it is not something that he himself is going to manufacture, because the result of something manufactured in the material world is going to be limited to the realm of the material world. But it has to be entering from the spiritual world. The process must be received from the proper source, meaning someone who is in the disciplines, the succession. So here is the beginning of the process that is described. The fundamental principles have been described already. So this is what Brahma himself had learned. Can someone read the translation of text 25, please?
In the bright fortnight of the month of Falguna, that is February and March, for 12 days ending with Dvadashi, one should observe the vow of subsisting only on milk and should worship the lotus-head Supreme Personality of Godhead with all devotion.
Yes, so that is the beginning of the process described here. There is a wonderful pastime in Chaitanya Bhagavat, where a brahmachari tried to get into the kirtans, and Mahaprabhu chastised him so heavily, saying, "Do you think that just by only drinking milk you are going to please the Lord and advance? Is that going to please him?" He was so upset with that. The essence here is that the attempt to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes are like a lotus with all devotion, the attempt to worship the Supreme Personality of God. That's the essence here. So, purport, worshipping the Supreme Lord with devotion means following Archana Mach. Shravnakir nam Vishnu Smarnam Padav Sevanam Archanavanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. So Archana Marg is one of the 8 processes of devotional service. Archanam is deity worship, and deity worship is recommended for everyone. So Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha explains that there are no foundational qualifications required, such as being born in a particular family or having a particular gender, that there is no disqualification. Everyone should be doing some form of deity worship or participating in the deity worship, because the deity means God. This is such wonderful training, a training that helps us to develop devotion. Can someone read the purport, the rest of the purport, starting with one should install the deity of Lord Vishnu until the end?
One should install the deity of Lord Vishnu or Krishna and worship him nicely by dressing him, decorating him with flower garlands, and offering him all kinds of fruits, flowers, and cooked food, nicely prepared with ghee, sugar, and grains. One should also offer flame, incense, and so on, while ringing a bell as prescribed. This is called worship of the Lord. Here it is recommended that one observe the vow of subsisting only by drinking milk. This is called Payo-vrata. As we generally perform devotional service on Ekadashi by not eating grains, it is generally recommended that on Dwadashi one not consume anything but milk. Payo-vrata and Archan devotional service to the Supreme Lord should be performed with a pure devotional attitude, that is bhaktya. Without bhakti, one cannot worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhaktya mamabhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvatahu. Bhagavad Gita 18.55. If one wants to know the Supreme Personality of Godhead and be directly connected with Him, knowing what He wants to eat and how He is satisfied, one must take to the process of bhakti. As recommended here also, bhaktya paramayanavidaha. One should be surcharged with unalloyed devotional service.
So surcharged with unalloyed devotional service, surcharged. What imaginary does that bring up? What does that mean to you? Electrified is a good metaphor. Filled with bhakti. One's existence, one's consciousness filled with bhakti. Then the activity is not mechanical, it is devotional. What does devotional mean? His pleasure is giving pleasure to the object of worship. So that is the essence of it. That he's to be pleased and one's consciousness is actually filled with that. How to do this in such a way that the Lord is pleased? So therefore cleanliness, punctuality, all this coming into play because this is going to please him. And then when there is love and when there is devotion, then the worship is pleasing. Does anyone has the experience that if someone is angry and cooks for you, or the other experience that you are angry to someone and then you cook for them? Like airplane food, they put it before you and just you can eat it. How different it is if you come to someone's house and they are really happy to see you. Please sit down, please eat this. It's made for you. Then naturally one wants to eat it. It is the affection from one side who is offering that makes the appetite grow, that makes one happy. That's what pleasing, the affection, is one part of a gift. The gift itself is an external manifestation of the affection, the internal mood, and that is what bhakti is. We do our deity worship, we take a bell and ring it, we wave a lamp or some incense. Now, if someone is waving a lamp in front of you, just that in itself is not going to give you pleasure. Or, yeah. But when it is done purposely with devotion, that is what is pleasing Krishna. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga means not only the externals or the ritual part, but one should worship the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead with all devotion. So surcharged, filling one's consciousness with devotion. Then whatever one is offering, even a banana peel, will become tasty to the Lord. It is not a recommended item for offering. It is the devotion that increases Krishna's hunger. A devotee wrote Prabhupada a letter about the different mantras used in deity worship. And Srila Prabhupada answered the letter in a very simple way. He asked about the mantras when you call the deity to take rest, and what mantras you use when you call the deity to wake up. What you do is say, "My dear Lord." Srila Prabhupada replied, he said, what you do is say, "My dear Lord, please come and take rest now." Just say that. That was his answer. So all these mantras, of course, we recite these mantras, but that is what we should think of. That Pujan Prabhu commented. I remember reading that I was so disappointed because at that point of life I wanted some technical things that I could show off with, or getting to know something very esoteric. I thought, why is Srila Prabhupada giving something so simple? He may be thinking that these Westerners don't know Sanskrit. Years later I looked at that. Srila Prabhupada, rather than withholding us something esoteric, he was giving the most esoteric thing. He was giving the heart of it, the essence of it. Krishna, please, you must be tired standing all day long. Please come and take rest now. If you will read through all these instructions, please remember that bhakti is the essence, that the rituals and mantras appear to be esoteric, but they are not esoteric. They are external. Not that we can neglect the external. If you perform a process in a specific way, you don't make up things, because it is coming down from the Lord. It is a spiritual process. Its origin is in the spiritual realm. You can't shift anything because you like this and don't like that. But yet we should always remember what the essence is. Essence is bhakti. And by that we come at the end of this section. Any question, comments? Then we will go tomorrow through all the instructions and hear the entire process. Good. Thank you very much. Looking forward to see you tomorrow, same time.
Recording stopped.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Jai Prabhupada.